Welcome to Rom Wills, Money Matters. Know your industry. Know your industry. Whatever industry you get into, you need to know it. I don't care what you do for a business. It could be anything. It could. In my previous podcast, I talked about being an artist, and I'll use the example of what I do. My main thing is writing. Yeah, I know. I'm doing a podcast. I see the videos, but the core of everything I do is writing. So I'm always still paying attention to the industry. I'll spend a hot date in a bookstore because that's part of my industry. In fact, to be honest with y'all, I know my industry to the point I could actually create a whole business structure starting from writing to printing books, to printing books, to bring in the editing, distribution, marketing, and ultimately even selling the books. Because I learned all aspects of it. It wasn't just that I was a writer, I was into marketing. So I had to learn everything because, all right, as a writer, okay, yeah, I'm writing the books and everything. I got to figure out how they sell. Indeed, knowing the marketing of whatever industry you're in is really the key. Now, I've talked about a book before that I pulled the financial houses from Ebony Treasure Map by Myron Golden. And he said, when you in business, you ain't really in that particular business. Like you might call yourself a farmer. You're not in the farming business. You're in the marketing business. You're not just a writer or a publisher. You're in the marketing business because he's an example of publishing. Okay, I'll use the example I have. Okay, with my books, all of my books. All right, I wrote them, got them printed and everything. What happens when I don't sell them? I got to market the books. Indeed, I never forget one time I was walking from my home when I was still living with my grandmother, and there was a little path I had to take to get to the subway station. And there was a stack of books in the woods because it was like a little woods that you had to walk through to get to the subway station. And there was a big box of books. Somebody had printed the books, but none of them sold. So they spent all that money. And I mean, that was lost money right there. So you have to know ins and outs. Okay, your industry, you got to know how to market in it. You got to know what sells. You got to know your customers. Who's going to buy your products? That's everything. You got to know it. You got to keep up with what's coming up. Like I'll use the publishing industry again. One thing, and this hit me slow. I had to learn this lesson the hard way. I didn't adapt quick enough. I adapted, but not quick enough. Because when my books first came out, like my first major book, Nice Guys and Players, I had a whole network of bookstores across the country, and I had a few distributors and everything. But what happened, the bookstores started disappearing. Amazon was getting big. That's when Amazon was like still small. If I could see into the future, I would have bought stock in it back then. I would have bought stock in it back then. I mean, it was big, but it wasn't the monster it is now. And they started getting bigger, and then ebooks came out that started affecting the industry and everything. And I eventually adapted, but not quick enough. Say, I should have been like ebooks. Let me jump on that right away. Like, you need to always be paying attention. Like in many industries, they have expos. And not to sell, but more like business expos. Okay, this is what's going on. They'll have workshops, stuff like that, just to let you know. And you'll find with people who are successful in business, they'll do a lot of educational stuff. Educate, see what's going on, what's new coming down the road. They even paying attention to laws. Like, for example, the cannabis industry is getting big. And I remember I was looking at some magazines on it. I don't have an interest in it, or at least for now anyway. And this magazine, it was covering like basic sales and all of that and, what was going on. But it was also getting into legal stuff. Like you need to look at any laws, pay attention to any laws that can affect your industry. You need to know it because, it's one thing to create the product. or, offer the service. That's one thing right there, and that's very important. But you got to know what market you're working in. You got to know what's new coming up. You might have to upgrade something. You might have to upgrade something. You need to know what laws, what trends are there. That's another part of it. Remember I mentioned the marketing. It might be a trend towards something. You need to say, okay, is this a trend I can live with? Is this something to do? Like even on YouTube, that's a industry. Now, one trend I'm not into is doing the live streams. Now, trust me, I'm paying attention to it, but it's just a matter if I do them. And trust me, I paid attention to it. If I do them, I want to be more business. Like I don't want the back and forth and all of that. It will be strictly business. Like I'll probably do a live stream on here before I do it on my other channels. And I'm building towards that. I'm just trying to build this channel up. And have like serious money people on there. But I'm paying attention to it. Even if you don't jump into something right away that's happening in your industry, you still pay attention and say, okay, that's the trend. Think about what you can do in it. Think about how it might affect your business, because sometimes industries can change and it affect it. Let's go back to publishing. A lot of a lot of bookstores were affected by the trend towards, places like Amazon and ebooks. A lot of bookstores, people weren't buying in the bookstores like they used to. Now it's starting to grow back, but it's slow because of what's happening is especially a lot of independent bookstores, they offering more than just the books. Even some of the larger bookstore chains like a Barnes and Noble, if you walk in there, yeah, they have mostly books, but they also have some toys and stuff. So they all, they offering extra now. They're getting smart about this, and that's a trend too. Like ultimately, when I see myself in the later years of my life actually owning a bookstore, or actually owning a bookstore and sitting there chilling, but I understand I had to pay attention to whatever trends are happening there, so to make sure it's a viable bookstore. It'll probably have books and probably have events, probably have some little snacks and everything. Trust me. But you got to know your industry. So whatever industry you in, let's go make that money.